And I also say if you can just share it to everybody, even after the interview is done, because hey, there's still plenty of stuff, plenty of people can watch it now. I'll put out the links for YouTube and everything as well. We are live. I am counting down from 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. Be right back. We are here with another Sports Refuge Podcast NFL playoff preview live stream as we're here to talk Denver Broncos football. And of course, I always say thank you for everybody who's been participating, who's been sharing these videos, giving shout outs to everyone. And of course, I'd be remiss to not even mention all the fans who've been participating in this. And of course, one of those fans here to talk about the Denver Broncos is longtime Broncos fan, Lisa Burkhart. Lisa, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I know that a good friend Brandon Burns has been able to connect me with so many fans of so many teams. He's been making it so easy to connect with people, and I'm glad. I always have to give that shout out to Brandon as well. In addition, thank you for being a part of it, because without the fans, this is pretty much a fruitless endeavor.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh yeah, definitely. I really appreciate it. Normally how we start these off, the first thing I'll ask is, how did you become a Denver Broncos fan? And then how did you end up sticking with them over the years? Because every team goes through its ups and downs with rare exceptions, but be able to handle all the struggles that a team may have, and in order to really reap the benefits of victories, it has to be amazing.
Actually, the funny thing is I'm actually from Denver, Colorado, but I don't live there anymore. I live in Ohio. When I was in Denver, I was there for the back-to-back with John Elway, and I hated them. I hated everything about Denver Broncos. I didn't want to watch football, nothing. Then I moved to Ohio, and our PA Ohio line. So I'm actually in Steelers Nation right now. And I remember watching when I became a fan was actually the Tim Tebow throw to Demaryius Thomas in that playoff that ended up having the Broncos win. I loved watching the Steelers lose. And it just happened to be from the city I was from. And so that just made it like the best. And I was like, that's it. I like football. I love it. And I was all in Broncos. And I just felt like it was meant to be because that's where I'm from. So, and then Demaryius Thomas ended up being my favorite player of all time too.
And I know that's going to be one of the things we're going to talk about, especially just his untimely passing as well. And we'll get to that a little bit further down the road. What is your most memorable moment? Is it that same pass? Was it the Super Bowl win against the Panthers, or?
It was the Super Bowl win with the Panthers, with Peyton Manning. It was nice to have him come in. It was a rocky season that year, but luckily we were able to pull it off, and to give him that before he retired was really great to see.
Yeah, and I know that solidified his status too, winning 2 Super Bowls, and everybody remember his Super Bowl against the Bears with the Colts, but this one has probably cemented him to that iconic status, or at least put him up there with his brother. So
yes.
Going into the season, what were the expectations coming into the year? I know that quarterback had been an issue, and then being able to acquire Teddy Bridgewater to solve all those issues. The merry-go-round was going on. It was everybody from Paxton Lynch to Trevor Siemian to Brock Osweiler to Chad Kelly, and now finally it seems like there's stability with Teddy Bridgewater. But to you, what were the expectations going into the year?
Going into the year, I knew that we would at least make the playoffs. I didn't think we'd make it much further than that. We do still have to work on our offensive line. I think out of all those, I think Teddy Bridgewater proved himself to be at least a good contender, and I was actually proud that he was the one that was chosen to be the starter for the season.
Particularly, what was there any optimism? I know now that he's really been a stable presence there, but what were your realistic expectations in the division as competitive with the Chargers, the Chiefs, and the Raiders at one point? Did you see the Broncos maybe finishing at 500 or even better than that?
No, we always had a pretty strong division, and KC used to seem to run it all the time. I never really thought much of the Chargers until this year. I think they've proven themselves a lot this year, and so now that's that makes me feel like we're going down in our division, which kind of sucks. But we're still pretty good, I think.
Mm-hmm. Was there, looking at the schedule, was there a particular game this year that made you feel optimistic about the Broncos' playoff chances?
Not anyone in particular. I thought that we, at the beginning of the season, once we actually started playing some of the games, I was like, I don't think we're going to make it. I honestly do think that the last game that the Broncos played, the heart that they put into it for Demaryius Thomas, I think that might be the little push that they needed to give them like the spirit again. And I think that's what's going to make them at least get to the playoffs still.
Mm-hmm. Looking at the schedule as well as on the other side, was there a particular moment where you thought these guys are not playoff bound? They're not going to be good enough to make it, especially in such a competitive division. Was it the loss against the Raiders? Was it the drubbing to Baltimore? Was it the loss to Steelers, or maybe was it the loss to the Eagles that made you think this team might not be all that good?
It really, honestly, the doubt that I had with the season this year really wasn't a game that made me feel that they weren't. The biggest part that made me doubt it was I felt that the office gave up on the team when they decided to trade Von Miller. The Broncos has always been a strong defensive team. And so I felt since he was the main, like he was the heart off the field as well, taking that from our defense in the middle of a season that we were still contenders in, I felt like it kind of crippled us more. Mm-hmm. So it really wasn't a game. It was more the stuff off the field.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely understandable about that. Particularly looking at the AFC playoffs, what is a team that you feel like the Broncos can beat in the AFC at making the playoffs that they have their number? Who do you think the Broncos really have a chance of shaking up in the playoff bracket?
I think that they're best at anybody who plays a West Coast offense. And I do think that the Chargers do play that more than most of the other people. So I would say the Chargers would probably be the only team that they would actually stand a chance. But to be realistic, I don't think that they're going to make it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that they're going to make it any further than that, even if they play the Chargers, who would probably give the best chances.
Looking on the other side of that, who's a team in the AFC playoff bracket that scares you? Is it Kansas City? Is it New England? Is it someone from the north? Is it Tennessee or something along those lines?
That scares me. Always. I'm always scared of New England. They're amazing, even without Brady. So, yeah, that'd probably be the one that I would fear the most.
I know that as we always talk about, there's always a question in between this and the prediction. But two questions. First of all, seeing the job that Vic Fangio has done as head coach, I know early on in the season there were concerns like this guy is supposed to be a defensive guru, and it didn't seem like he was getting it together. I know he's in a I believe, second or third year as head coach. So it's always a question about, is this guy really a legit coach, or is he just one of those guys that got lucky with some defense or offense and was able to coast to a nice, cushy job application?
I'm not really a big fan of him. But I think he's getting us by. I don't think he's gonna stay long with us, but as of right now, he's getting part of the job done. I would love to see Gary Kubiak come back. That's who I'd want to come back, honestly. But I don't think that's gonna happen ever.
And one thing that we will want to mention, of course, the untimely passing of Demaryius Thomas was a staple on the team for years. I know that the biggest thing is seeing that how those guys rallied around him, even though he was no longer playing, and it's a fallen comrade, and that everybody's still impacted by his loss. Is very, I'd say, comparison to what happened with Washington and Sean Taylor and everything that occurred there, and that being a different situation. But everybody seemed to get galvanized. But do you feel, and I know it seems a little morbid asking this question, but do you feel something like that will get them in the mindset, especially as they finish up this run against a tough string of opponents, including Cincinnati, the Raiders, the Chargers, and the Chiefs?
Yes. After the last game that they played, I watched the post game conference, and you can see it in a lot of their eyes. It's like they got a wake up call because he did pass at such a young age that they want to push harder. And I think it's for him that they're doing it. And so I honestly think that was the push that they needed to get them to where they need to go.
Definitely. And another thing I want to ask is, did you expect this division to be so competitive? Especially at one point, there were maybe 2 weeks ago, there was a point where everybody was in with an eyelash of a game of Kansas City. And now it's still pretty close, even though Kansas City's slowly starting to pull away. But did you expect the AFC West to be that competitive?
No, not at all. Not at all. The funny thing is I thought Kansas City wasn't going to do as well as they were doing. They usually run our division, but I thought that they were actually going not to do as good as they are doing. So I'm really impressed that they still are doing that. I know everybody says because of McCombs, but I just didn't think that they had it in them anymore. And so that's why I thought that we would be in a better position than we are now in the playoffs. But they're all amazing. And I think we're probably one of the strongest divisions there is out there, for sure.
I know. I mean, the Chargers and their rise, and the Raiders and their epic cratering back to earth after everything that occurred. It definitely seems like it benefited the Broncos.
Yes.
As we start to wrap things up, what is your Super Bowl prediction? Who do you have coming out of the AFC? Who do you have coming out of the NFC? Who wins the Super Bowl, and what is the final score?
I know everybody wants to see the Brady Bowl. That's the last thing I want to see, honestly. So I'm hoping the Green Bay Packers and the Chargers, and I think the Green Bay Packers are going to win. That's what I'm hoping. And then after that, Aaron Rodgers can come to Denver.
I know his name was bandied about in the offseason as well. What's the final score do you have for that Super Bowl?
I'm going to say 27-19 Green Bay.
Definitely. That might be the biggest margin of victory I've seen among all the people who've been talking. Everybody's been saying it's a field goal game. Nothing more than the field goal is going to come down to a late kick.
I don't know. They're pretty good. And Aaron Rodgers, he's so unpredictable. Like, he's so unpredictable. Like, they think like if he goes in hurt, like he's been hurt, he's still putting up the numbers. Like, to me, I honestly think a lot of people make fun of me. I honestly think he's the best quarterback there is. I put him above Brady because I've never seen a person throw a Hail Mary like he does over and over again. Like, I don't know. There's something about him that I just think he is honestly the best out there. And so you can never predict or think that he can't do something.
Definitely. I can understand that. And as we start to wrap up, do you have any shout outs you want to give to anybody? Is there anything that you have that you want to promote as well? And how can people reach out to you on social media about talking to you about the Broncos? And how can people talk to you about the Broncos? What are ways people can reach out to you and discuss Broncos football? Looks like we're having a little bit of a technical issue, and sometimes that's what happens with live broadcasts. Hopefully, we can get Lisa right back to bring it. Okay, Lisa, are you having any? Okay, no problem. Hey, I know it's technology, and I don't, it happens with.
I know. I was like, what the fuck happened?
But I was saying, any shout outs, anything to promote, and how can people reach out to you on social media to talk Broncos football?
Okay, so I want to give a shout out to Broncos Nation. They all know who they are, the one that holds out. They don't give up even through the hard seasons. They're great to be around. I love them. I've never been out of place where I have not made tons of friends. So shout out to them. Shout out to my boyfriend, Mike, even though he's a Cincinnati Bengals fan. He watches every game with me. He likes to critique me and irritate me sometimes, but to him. And then also I can be reached at my Facebook. It's facebook.com. And the link is Lisa Marie with 3 E's 85.
Well, definitely, Lisa, I really do appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. And I thank you because I know really these podcasts, they're not possible without the fans. And I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to talk Broncos football. And for everybody who's been watching, so far we've been running the gamut. We got one more interview tonight, and we're going to be talking New England Patriots with Terrence Blackwell, longtime fan as well. But I want to say for Lisa Burkhart, my guest, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And what we'll do is once we conclude this interview, we'll continue in the live stream studio, talk a little bit before I let you go. But again, in about 13 minutes, I'm going to be talking New England Patriots football with Patriots fan Terrence Blackwell. And for my guest, Lisa Burkhart, I am Earl Holland saying we'll see you guys back at 8 o'clock sharp talking Patriots football. Thank you so much.
Bye.